as police continue to investigate the death of Rayshard Brooks. Here's the latest information. The medical examiner has ruled his death a homicide caused by, quote, gunshot wounds of the back. Now, video released yesterday by Atlanta police show officers performing a sobriety check on the 27-year-old Friday night. The situation eventually escalates to a physical altercation between Brooks and officers before ending in gunfire. The officer who shot Brooks, Garrett Rolfe, has been fired. The second officer, Devin Bronson, has been placed on administrative duty. So we're going to dig into this story a little bit more. We're going to bring in Marlon Walker. Marlon, you are a reporter for the Marion, sorry, you were a reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Marlon. I'm not doing so very good. I'm not doing very good with names today. Marlon. Okay, thank you so much for joining us, though, and let's get into this story. Tell us about the events, what we know so far about the events leading up to this shooting, because it's sort of long. Some of it is caught on police surveillance, but the shooting itself is not.
What they have is a compilation of different things. You have the body cam footage from the police officers. You have the information from the Wendy's surveillance footage. You have footage from people who were in line in the drive-thru that evening. And you also have the dash cam from the very beginning that shows police pulling up, announcing themselves to Mr. Brooks, pulling him over into a parking spot out of the drive-thru, and going through the motions, which included a field sobriety test and, the eventual announcement that they were going to put him under arrest. And I think that's where everything changed. And you could see Mr. Brooks begin to struggle with them, take a taser from one of the officers, and then run from where they were until the fatal shots were fired.
I think what's hard for a lot of people who see the video, Marlon, is, as you point out, that for more than 20 minutes, the interaction between Rayshard and the officers is fairly polite and fairly cordial. You can hear him basically begging them to let him go home, let him just walk it off, and to go to his sister's house. And it didn't have to end this way. So I guess the question that I have is, how does the police body cam footage and the surveillance video outside of Wendy's help us piece together what exactly went wrong that night?
I talked to, and it's odd that I usually work as an education reporter on my daily job, and one of my board members is a psychotherapist. She gave me a call yesterday, and one thing that she said was that contact where you realized it happened so abrupt that Mr. Brooks was standing in a bit of a triangle talking to the two police officers, and immediately one went for his left arm to put it behind his back and said that they were going to place him under arrest. That is where a lot of experts are saying things changed. That, instead of, the conversation that seemed so calm and the fact that he was talking about relatives and living nearby and being able to be dropped off, it went from that to survival mode.
So now we have the death ruled a homicide. It is interesting that it's caused by gunshot wounds of the back, which I think is what has a lot of people, upset. It means that he would have been running away, and presumably means that he wouldn't have been an immediate threat to police officers. That's at least what it seems like on the surface. Can you talk a little bit more about the calls to have the officers charged and what's happening with the officers involved right now?
The officer, Rolfe, who fired the shots, has been terminated. The other officer has been placed on administrative duty. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms went on TV Saturday and immediately said that the issue wasn't about the use of force. It was about the amount of force used. And I think that's a lot of what has brought people out into the streets, to that Wendy's in South Atlanta, and just searching for answers in terms of why this continues to happen, why it feels like Black people are targeted at a disproportionate rate. There's a story on our website, ajc.com, that shows that a man was taken into custody peacefully after firing shots at police officers a couple of days before this all took place. A lot of that is being brought up and to show the contrast because a lot of people see or feel that this is happening way too often and that the disparate treatment is way too glaring.
I mean, it's an excellent point. Dylan Roof was brought in peacefully after committing those heinous murders. That's what people are concerned about, which is a man's running away. He doesn't have a weapon other than that taser. He's going in the other direction, and the police officers shoot him. Eric Garner is selling loose cigarettes. George Floyd is perhaps allegedly passing a $20 bill. These are the conditions that African Americans are facing, and these are the conditions that people are upset about, which is why they're taking to the streets every day. And you write that this is the 48th time that Georgia's Bureau of Investigation has been asked to look into officer-involved shootings just this year. So what do we know about where many of these investigations stand?
And that doesn't mean that the state has only had 48 officer-involved shootings. According to the information that we've compiled from the AJC, there are a lot more that they have not been asked to investigate. This just means that agencies have reached out to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to get them to investigate. Agencies in Georgia are not supposed to investigate their own shootings when it involves someone of their own. But again, the number at this point of the year is 48 for GBI and several more that haven't been asked. What it means is, the continued use of force for whatever different reason. I don't think a lot of people understand that, use of force policy that's in place. It talks about imminent harm and imminent danger, things of that nature. But there's a lot of confusion over that. There's a lot of confusion over when to use and questions about how people are using force throughout the state. The different cases are all over the place, the disposition of which, a lot of these things are still outstanding.
And it's an excellent point that you make and excellent reporting there, Marlon. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. Marlon Walker, we appreciate it.
Thank you.